But interestingly, what you will also find is, if you look at 2011, during the Independence Day speech, the president seemed to be much in a hurry during that speech. So it was on air for just about 10 minutes, 51 seconds, approximately 11 minutes. Last year was on delivering his speech, he spent only 18 minutes. What you find in this year is he's actually spent a lot of time. He spent about 21 minutes this year trying to, so you see the president seemingly trying to convince the nation about the challenges that we face and how he intends to solve those challenges. Because ordinarily, you would often find Independence Day speeches of other world leaders to be quite short. So what we noticed is it started as a short Independence Day speech about 4 years ago in 2011, when he would come on here and spend just about 11 minutes. Last year, he spent about 18 minutes. Today, we had a speech that took well over 20 minutes. And this gives us an indication that looking at the duration of his speeches, it seems, though, that he's more interested about discussing these national issues that we have with Nigerians and trying to convince listeners with his message.
But, you know, even though some will argue that 21 minutes cannot be said to be well over, it's just a minute over 20 minutes. And that might also deal with the length of how he reads, if he delivers his speeches. But let us focus at, you know, some of the things that you have pointed out. You talked about a 6-3-4 or
6-4-3.
6-4-3 system, and you're saying that...
I'm sure you forgive me if I say 4-4-2.
And, you know, that for you is ordering the importance of the message, even though a lot of people will say that usually the way a speech is arranged, you deal with the most important issues first, given a general overview. It would seem that security has continued. A lot of Nigerians will say that security continues to be a major highlight of our national existence. It has come to the fore in the last 3 or 4 years or so, and we're beginning to see the president address it a little more. Is that a sense that you also get?
It is, clearly, because in the first two categories of his keywords, you have the economy. In that first category of words, he used 6 times. And in the second category, you have, excuse me, terrorist, which really relates to security. So that's, you're quite correct. That's still the sense, the same sense I get. I also get a strong inclination, based on the textual analysis of his speech, that jobs seems to be a high priority for the president. However, according to legend, in 1960, during Abubakar Tafawa Balewa's speech, it is the text of Balewa's speech in 1960 is quite different from what we have today.
Naturally, it should be different. I mean, we're talking 54 years ago. We're talking about the euphoria of a country just gaining independence, a very young country full of hope. And now we're 54. There have been how many generations after that? At least 2 generations, I believe, or 3, perhaps, if we're to take Mr. Akinjide into cognizance. I want to believe he's a grandfather, if not a great-grandfather. You know, and it is just natural. People will be wondering, how is this young baby of a nation done 54 years after?
And quite clearly, you're right. There's a difference, and I'll quickly explain the difference. In 1960, even though Abubakar Tafawa Balewa's speech was quite short, the focus was on pride. So if you pick up the speech, you'll notice that he used the word pride 3 times. There was so much joy about we gaining independence, and he kept going on about how proud we were as a nation. So pride was the focus of that message. What you notice is, in today's speech, there's absolutely no mention of pride. 4 years ago, in 2011, during the president's speech, he had used the word pride as well 4 times. A year after, it reduced to 1. As at today, there seems to be no more pride in us when we celebrate independence. And that clearly even shows from the text of the president's speech. We've clearly moved to a security-focused country, and we need to urgently reawaken that sense of pride that we have as a nation.
Are we missing out the part that next year is elections? This year they've got to do their primaries. And so while giving that speech, and if you look at all of those achievements which you highlighted, yes, you could also pass as a scorecard of sorts, saying, well, yes, this is what we've done. But, and then in the end, he talked about promises. And he says, look, yes, these promises, I will fulfill every part of them. So can we completely exonerate politics, saying, well, he's putting himself up there saying, look, I'm as good as my word?
Yes, he is, but just like Marquez said, there's the need to instill the pride we have as being Nigerians.
Okay, when did I say that? we have to factor that in. I think I must have asked that.
No, but what we really mean here is it's extremely important that even though we are getting into an election year, today is independence, even though we also have a lot of discussions about if we are really independent. But what we will expect in subsequent addresses to the nation, because we have a lot of people listening, is not to just discuss about the very important issues of jobs, infrastructure, and the economy. What we'll also expect is that we start getting a lot of strong vibes from our leaders about how proud we should be as Nigerians and to have this nation as one.
Where do you think pride, perhaps I should ask that question now that you mentioned my name, where do you think pride should have come in this speech?
Most importantly, what we have, what I see as Nigeria as today is Nigeria is the largest franchise of a black nation. There are only 170 million people out of the world's 7.1 billion people that have the right to say that we are part of the world's largest black franchise. We need to also ensure that we lead people away from the doctrine of fear that the crisis of Boko Haram has put us in as a nation. So yes, we want to have a speech that the president focuses on terrorists, talks about election. But what we also want to do is reawaken that energy of hope, reawaken our sense and why we should be proud of our nation, and let us realize that the future is quite clearly brighter than where we are today.
But as a Nigerian, you're a young Nigerian, observing the things around you, observing the happenings, be it the day before independence, on Independence Day itself, would you not say that a host of Nigerians are happy and are proud of even just being Nigerians?
Ordinarily, the answer would have been yes, but because what we get to hear in the news every day focuses on killings. Once you are within the country, or most especially if you go outside the country, the menace of Boko Haram and their killings is now sadly associated with the average Nigerian. We need to change that quickly, and we need to change that immediately.
The reason I asked this question is just yesterday, driving, my way back home, and I observed that Nigerian flags, little flags, were on sale. And interestingly, people were stopping to buy those flags, and I thought to myself that, so we remember that October 1 is not just any other public holiday, but a national holiday when we actually gained our independence. And on my way to work today, I did see some people putting up those flags on their cars. And I thought to myself that, and some people were wearing green, white, green, just as a sign of patriotism.
That's pride.
That's some pride there, don't you think?
Yes, but it's like a football game. Yes, that's some level of pride. But at some point in time, the coach always knows when the morale of his players are low. Right now, the morale of most Nigerians are low. It would be insufficient for us to base our assertions on what happens in Lagos only. We should ask ourselves how many people in Borno, Adama, and Yobe would easily buy the Nigerian flag. We should ask ourselves how many people cannot even afford to buy the Nigerian flag. Those are where we need to start focusing on. Those are the people that we need to increase their morale.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back and continue on this one. Join us again.